Okay, it's day 74, and I thought I would do a UML, a Unified Modeling Language diagram for you all, just so you can see what one looks like. If you were working at PTech and you were a UML guy like Laher, you would have to present a document like this to your customer, IBM, to show, excuse me, FBI, to show them the data flow. Okay, so this is working theory, but this is how I think it works. And the way I think FBI used PTech as a consultant was they were the bad guys, CIA mainly, using PTech before 2001 and a little bit after 2001. But the FBI raided them, and it's kind of like, an uneasy relationship. And because you're contracting hackers for individual profit, as I said in the first video. But what happened was Chertoff basically moved this to a color of law operation, which he said, why don't we just make all the operations of PTech legal under DHS under color of law? So that's where you get this data flow diagram. So I think the structure of it is going to be, first of all, this Five Eyes. These are the five English-speaking nations in this data sharing agreement, and I'll get back to Five Eyes. I think in the center of this data flow are all these BlackBerry backups. As I've said from the beginning, Imran's backups and Huma's backups. I think also Philippe Reinus's backups are going to come in here from CENTCOM, but right now we'll just deal with Huma here and Imran. So these are the inputs here. So we learned from the documents that recently were released that Judicial Watch got that there's this BlackBerry backup bold. So the bold is one type of BlackBerry device, and that's going to be a shared Dropbox. Okay, or you're going to call it the triple B. I think Huma has about 50 accounts, and there's about 12 devices or 15 different devices. So I'm going to say that there's going to be about 10 or 12 backup accounts. You get new phones every once in a while, different devices. But each phone or each device represents a backup funnel that funnels into this BlackBerry backup repository. The same thing for Imran. I think you're going to end up with a laptop or BlackBerry with its associated removable drives at each one of these 30 agencies of what I call the DynCorp backbone. This is all the defense agencies as well as all the intelligence agencies, as well as other agencies like IRS and Treasury, because Jack Lew, right? And I think the scheme is go into the place with your toner cartridge, and then that's when you pick up this device, whatever the device is, if the device is built into the copier or if it's built into some other device. But I believe that's the game that Jamal and Rayo are running, and that's basically the same way you do backups. I remember doing this when I was in IT about once a week. Anyway, however it gets there, we don't completely know. We have some hints about the John Wilkes Booth with the removable hard drives, but however it gets here, the BlackBerry backups all end up in this big repository. Now, where you move those is they're subject to seizure at this point. These are classified documents, and mishandling classified information is a felony, as we all know. So I believe they get moved either to the Google Foundation in Canada, or in Australia, or New Zealand, or England, or UK, one of the locations for Google Foundation, and then or the Obama Foundation, which is going to be under executive privilege, under this B5 executive privilege, I believe. I believe Archive Solutions is the key vendor. This is the blonde-haired gal, the Rayo gal, R-A-O gal, from the Veritas videos. Okay, I don't believe that they're at the Clinton Foundation. I don't believe they'd make that mistake, keeping it in the United States. I might be wrong. But the Five Eyes is important here now, because now I can move and spread the information over 5 different areas, mainly working through universities. So I can have different people doing different analysis projects on this data basically in Google universities all over the world. Now, there's a lot of legitimate work that goes on, but I believe the foundation work is going to be the stuff that's the pay-to-play stuff, and that's going to be the Eric Braverman stuff as it's developing. I think Eric Schmidt's going to step down, and Braverman will step into these 5 foundations. I think the 5 foundations are going to correspond to the 5 eyes. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. Braverman, I think, is going to run that out of Tel Aviv. I don't think he's ever coming back to the United States, but I could be wrong. I think he'll mainly go between Israel and the UK. Now, as far as the U.S. is concerned, this is, remember, the customer here is the FBI. They get a piece of this, and I think, what piece of this and what percentage of this they get is up to really, I think, Henry Kissinger and Feinberg and a couple of other people at, Council on Foreign Relations. Whether they get 80% of this or all of it, I don't know. We'll find out. But this is going to filter down into this kind of shared Dropbox, and these are going to be what I call the JTTF kids, or the counterintelligence kids. This is going to be Andy McCabe. This is going to be McGarity in New York. It's going to be Priestap here in Washington, D.C. It's going to be some people outside the FBI like Sean Henry at CrowdStrike. It's going to be Burrell at Temporal Data Systems. They're going to get a chunk of it, and I'm not sure, they won't get the whole Dropbox, but they'll get the chunk that they need, compartmentalized chunk that they need for their application that they're developing. If they're going to do a surveillance app, Burrell is going to get that chunk. If they're going to do a, some other type of app, they're going to get that chunk. I think the whole kit and caboodle, devices, data, everything coming down here goes to Clarksburg, West Virginia. Okay, and that's going to be stored down here at this FBI vault, which if you follow the series, you've seen that. Then I think there's another chunk that's going to go out for analysis for more political or more pay-to-play, and that's going to be this Fusion GPS. And these are going to be analysts. These are people like Bruce Orr, very analytical, or Nellie Orr, or the Glenn Simpsons of the world. Glenn Simpson's going to be mainly analyzing it for leaks and smears to be leaking out to Washington Post or New York Times or CNN, Donnie, or Melee, or Washington Post would be Boberg or somebody like that. And then the Orr side of the house will be more going to the Podestas, which is more looking at the monetary value of information, the pay-to-play information, like, oh, this is a new oil and gas, or this is a new technology for thorium reactors, so we should start pushing global warming and shut down mines, and we've just discovered some thorium over here in this country or that country. This is more this typical CIA fact book kind of resource analysis on this side of the house. Glenn is doing more of the political analysis. This would be more the George Soros type analysis, and then Nellie's doing more the pay-to-play, the pay-to-play analysis. So that's just an initial model, a UML model, that a law might sit down, first meeting with a client. We'll keep meeting and we'll keep developing out this model. But now you're ready to pay to play here in Washington, or smear and leak.